I would say that in general is true and not true, so it depends on where you are, of course. Maybe Dave would add in on that.
No, I haven't really heard of it. I mean, it does make sense that I don't know what time scale we're talking about.
What I'm getting to is that there appears to be a very high incidence of skin cancer.
A lot of that is due more to changing social mores than to solar radiation. I mean, skin cancer has gone up largely because a lot of people spent more time outdoors, had a lot more free time, and in particular, we cover up less now than we did in the past. And so I think in a lot of those cases, there's more people, hence the small probabilities of occurrences result in more people getting skin cancer. I think a lot of that has to do with increase in free time and maybe less clothing, if you will, than anything to do with changing concentrations. I mean, the argument was made back when we were concerned over the ozone depletion. And essentially the ozone hole was really happening over the South Polar region. And the reason for that is you had a circumpolar vortex set up that essentially didn't allow you to bring in ozone, and you had depletion of ozone because ozone is very much a renewable resource. If we don't have oxygen or we don't have solar radiation, then you don't have ozone, but then again, you don't need it. The fact that we have oxygen in the atmosphere and solar radiation coming in would replenish the ozone. And so it was coupled with that people tried to read, well, depleting ozone must therefore lead to increasing skin cancers. And I think that was a bad correlation because a lot of it was shown not to be related to ozone where people live. Over North America, the ozone layer had not changed dramatically, and yet we have seen a lot of increase in skin cancer over the area. So clear, it couldn't be due to changing solar radiation, and it's really due to changing behavior.
What is the role of the ionosphere? How important is the ionosphere?
Kim, I'd like to take just one little step back. Please allow me a few minutes because I think it will be important. This is what, just to amplify on the point where Dave was trying to say about ozone. Since you were going into this increasing incidence of radiations, and then probably it's related to changing transparency, like less ozone, for example, so that you have more ultraviolet radiation of the sun coming in. This is a question, indeed, you come back to the question, what can an astrophysicist add to this sort of study of the Earth itself? I mean, think about this particular question that I'm going to ask. As we know that the world ozone, 90% of them reside in the stratosphere, then 10% in the troposphere. And we know that ozone in the stratosphere, people say is good because it's blocking out the ultraviolet radiation. And then in the troposphere or near surface, it's not good because ozone is bad for our lungs. But I say, well, let's forget all about it. Let's take all of it out from the atmosphere. This is actually a thought experiment in the sense of Einstein always says that we can do certain thought experiment if we can answer them, of course. It's not good to ask a question when you cannot answer them. One that we can answer is this one.
Okay.
What if we take all of them out? And then we ask ourselves, how long would it take, if it come back at all, for it to come back, the ozone? Do you want to make a guess on that?
I'm not even equipped to ask the question, let alone to ponder the answer. I don't know enough, but I
think the answer would be very, very interesting because most people would imagine, because this is where I think it's a tragedy in a lot of sense that the idea that when people were proposing that CFC could break this ozone and could really delete the ozone, that is all nice and true. But what they're forgetting to do is basically ask this question that I just posed. In fact, they even given Nobel Prize of Chemistry, right, 1995, to this 3 person who have actually studied this relationship of CFC, essentially the chlorine that get released that would be able to cause the breakdown of the ozone, right? But they forgot to ask this basic question that I just asked. How long would it take if we take all the ozone away from the Earth's atmosphere? And how long would it take for it to come back, if it come back at all?
Now I really want to know.
Is it 1,000,000 years? Is it 100,000 years? Is it 10,000 years? Is it even 1,000 years? Is it even 100 years? Is it even 10 years? Is it even 1 year?
What is it?
The answer is less than 1 year. It's roughly 150 days. The answer is very not surprising, by the way. This is where I guess as astrophysicists could help here, because what they forgot to tell you is basically, you see, when they speak about the ozone issue, the ozone destruction issue, they are so good at tailoring and narrowing your mind into how we can only damage the ozone, and they never talk about how the ozone could be made, which Dave was trying to tell you, ozone is a renewable resources.
That was pretty amazing.
Yes. No, the point is, you see, then imagine that people were saying the success of the Montreal Protocol. This is the protocol in 1987 where all the world government who were so convinced that because of the ozone hole is upon us, that if we don't do something about it, we're going to kill every single soul in this planet Earth. And then they forgot to tell you, my point is that you can try all you want, you're not able to destroy all the ozone, because ozone could be made bad very quickly. And the secret is nothing more than oxygen, O2, and the sun, the ultraviolet radiation of the sun that would first break down this O2 molecule first into O, so that the extra O could be combined with another O2 that didn't get breakdown. Okay?
So could we say that ozone itself is intelligent?
I'm sorry, I guess I still speak of this as an inorganic process.
When you say it's renewable, meaning it could be created again.
Correct. I mean, the whole point is not to try to make it in the sense that, we are only going to destroy this thing, but then they forgot to tell you the chemical balance that you could make ozone easily and make it fast. That's the whole point. And then this is why I would say that, yes, CFC is maybe not a good thing, but then it doesn't make the issue ever so urgent. And this is why I would think that if people know about this, they will be a whole lot more skeptical about this DuPont and all this other chemical company who's basically essentially want to monopolize on the replacement that they are able to come up with. So it's unfortunate, sort of, I would say, a corruption of all these strange forces, these business forces, this for-profit reasoning to try to basically corrupt science itself, where science are not allowed to prevail and speak, to even give out such a facts, because people do not want to ask the right question. And this gives a same parallel that I'm somehow trying to get across the point very clearly, although we didn't have a chance yet, about what we think about the carbon dioxide role in the atmosphere. I mean, so far as we may have heard, I guess, 1 billion times over by now, that if we don't do something about this carbon dioxide emission, we're going to destroy almost everything on planet Earth. In fact, it's even worse than Hitlerism. I even heard this news like that this morning. And this is really preposterous. I mean, there is no even close basis to try to even come close to suggesting that CO2 is such a bad thing. We haven't even been able to show this. In fact, I have given 20 years of benefit of doubt on this issue about CO2 being able to do all this bad thing to the Earth system. I mean, me, myself, and David Legates has been working extremely hard on such a topic to make sure that we don't misspoke or misspeak about the truth of the facts. And we've been learning, and as far as we can tell, I mean, we've just been not be able to find this impact of this carbon dioxide on the system that is so important according to them. So this I guess, is what the point that I'm trying to mention. And then let me just quickly come back to ionosphere. Ionosphere is a very interesting region, yes? I mean, it's clearly a region that is very, very important for propagation of a radio wave and what have you, right? That all these waves that we can send out and then get reflected back, right? So that we can hear it again at another different region of the Earth. I mean, it's clearly a very dynamic region too. And I would say that region, if you were to study how the sun affects on the system, I mean, no doubt that is purely totally dependent on what the sun is actually doing, whether it's spewing out more charged particle this way. Sometimes even when the sun is shooting out some particle, it's not hitting us, it's going elsewhere because the space is extremely big. So in the occasional time in which that, some of this ejection of the particles and the mass coming out from the sun would be able to hit the Earth ionosphere, no doubt about it, most of our effects will be interrupted. I mean, there were, for example, in 1989, there was this major event of the sun's spewing out a whole bunch of this gas that actually was able to actually fry some of the transformer, the electrical transformer in places like Montreal, where you have blackout for hours, you things like that, event like that. So there is no doubt that there is such a strong essential control of the sun's whatever it does. It's going to be very, very important, and therefore we should do quite a lot more, in my sense, to try to study a lot more about what the sun can do. Therefore, we will gain a sense of preparedness in the sense of how to anticipate some of this potential disruption in terms of social life, how we function actually on planet Earth.
I understand that the grid, when people refer to the grid, they're talking about the energy grid. Is that what they're talking about?
Correct. Electrical grid, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's basically built it in the sense that so that, in one part of it got shut down, you can close off the other so that you can still function. This is why this sort of system is built by